police cars, and whenever they stopped a citizen, the Black Panthers would get out of their cars with their law books and observe the proceedings from a safe distance. And if there are any violations, they made sure to make sure and step in.
Now, that was a sort of an intimidating factor as far as the police were concerned. Would you say that?
They weren't trying to intimidate the police.
I know, but I mean, how did the police...
The police, because you have to imagine, this is 1966, and so you have police departments populated by people like our friend Mark Furman, right, who obviously wouldn't want that kind of so-called interference, even though it's perfectly legal. This is a key point that a lot of people miss. The Black Panther Party, I like to say, they broke fewer laws than Martin Luther King, because Huey Newton, he was a self-taught lawyer, he was a genius, and he made sure that everyone read all the law books so that the police actually wouldn't have any excuses to crack down on them. But the police, they didn't like the sort of interference with what they were doing, and this led in 1967 to the introduction of a law by a local legislator in California, Don Mulford, to ban the activities that the Black Panthers are actually doing.
Now, the party was not only connected in California, but in Chicago. There were also branches. Was it a national party, or what's the...
It started off just as a local party in Oakland, California, but then on May 2nd, 1967, when this law by Don Mulford was being passed in the legislature, Bobby Seale led a group of 30 Panthers, 6 women and 24 men, to the local legislature to actually protest the passing of this bill. Huey Newton was at home because his mother wanted him to wash her dishes. But then what happened was there are all these television cameras there. Ronald Reagan, the governor of California, he was there. And all this coverage of this group, which had been unknown outside of the San Francisco Bay Area before then, came about. And then after that, in the summer of 1967, all sorts of people were calling in. They wanted to form their own chapters because they saw the good that the party was actually doing. And so that's where you got branches in New York City, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, and all across the country, and indeed international chapters as well.
You know, when you talk about that party, how did that party relate to some of the things that were going on in reference to civil rights at that particular time?
Well, even though that part of the history is often referred to as the Black Power movement as opposed to the Civil Rights movement, in reality, what the Black Panthers are trying to do is a continuation of the efforts of people like Malcolm X, even Martin Luther King. They may have had different methods, but they had identical goals. Both were concerned about the war in Vietnam and ending that. Both were concerned about the economic improvement of the conditions facing Black people. Both were concerned about the violence in American cities. The Black Panthers, contrary to the myth, actually tried to prevent riots because they saw that riots were just an excuse for police who were so minded to actually go in and arrest people, hurt people, shoot people. They actually just wanted Black people to build up their communities rather than tear them down.
Now, Bobby Seals, I think we saw him quite recently on another show. What's his position now? Is he still a part of the Panther organization, or is he still active in the organization?
Well, officially the Black Panther Party disbanded in 1980, and its heyday was really from 1966 to 1971. That's when Bobby Seale wrote the book Seize the Time, facing numerous trials just for advocating his political beliefs. And what I want to say about the Black Panther Party, as we know it, regardless of what happened later, the Black Panther Party, it was more than just watching the police. It was a service organization for the people. So they had free breakfast for children programs. They had free health clinics. They were the first group, actually, to identify that sickle cell anemia was a problem for people of African descent. And they were the first people to recognize as a major problem. Or projects like Head Start actually got their start from the programs of the Black Panther Party. You talk about Chicago, the Black Panther leader Fred Hampton, 21 years old, actually started the Rainbow Coalition, and Jesse Jackson took the name. But they were interested in uplifting all people, Black people, brown people, yellow people, red people, even white people, and forming a more humane society.
And and of course, we've got about 30 seconds here, Dr. Farley, before we have our first commercial break today. But essentially, that's the information we wanted in reference to this party. And you would date it from the 1960s down through the 1980s and say that for the most part, there are no real active chapters of that organization today?
No, there are not. Although there are the new Black Panthers, but they're different.
So in a real sense, we're really talking about an item that is already set in history in a real sense. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
And we'll be back with our audience after this first commercial break. Who is in the